Everyone who comes out here realizes the historical significance of being at this very place. Some say it's the last great free hunt in America. I say it's the greatest hunting experience on earth. I'm Gary Robertson. I called up and killed my first coyote when I was 10 years old. Even after all these years, watching nature's greatest athletes come running in triggers something deep down inside. It may be the echoes of my predator calls or the distant chorus of hounds on a hot trail. This is Carnivore.
Carnivore is made possible through a partnership with Ruger, rugged, reliable firearms, Trijicon, brilliant aiming solutions, Hornady, accurate, deadly, dependable, and The Freak, the world's first and only ultrasonic game call.
I had a tremendous amount of anticipation the first time we walked out to call, after visiting with Gary, to be able to see this machine in action. I predator hunted a lot, and it was a great spot, but Gary kept pushing till we walked down into a little creek area. And when he stopped, I thought, oh, this is going to work.
With every step, we're walking across historic trail drive country. Goodnight Loving, Chisholm Trail, Great Western Trail. This was huge cattle country. And it really hasn't changed all that much. Everyone who comes out here realizes the historical significance of being at this very place. Paul Williams is no different. He's a rancher. He knows the history of this country, and he loves it as I do.
Gary and his team and his family invented the Freak, and I had to see it.
There's no doubt that the Freak has taken off, and that's part of the reason that Paul Williams is on this hunt. He wanted to go with someone that knew a little about hunting, and he also wanted to hunt with the Freak. The next thing I know, Paul spots a coyote.
When I first saw the coyote coming in, I knew he was short for life.
I had not seen this coyote, and when I heard Paul drop his shooting sticks, I thought it was all over.
When I shot, I didn't see the dog go down, but I heard the bullet hit him, so I knew I had him. I turned to look at Gary, and he looked up and looked at me and pointed out there was another one.
I can't believe how this coyote has reacted to just what has happened. We had the dropping of the shooting sticks. We have Paul taking a shot and killing a coyote in front of this one. It was a young coyote. It had probably never heard a call before. This is very unusual. We've got one coyote here. This is an old dog. Yours is a big old dog. Mine, not so much. I think you got a big dog. Yeah, come in here. Look at the tooth wear on that baby. Paul, you killed an old coyote. You killed a trophy on the very first shot. Look at the teeth wear on this one. It's a big old dog, and I'm guessing that may be the female over there. I don't know. It's unusual to call the female back. It's usually you shoot the female and you can call the male back, but you shot the male and the female came back to him. Yours is twice as big as mine, Paul. Well. Mine is a female, a young female. And that's what happened. She made a mistake. Young ones make mistakes. Yeah. But see,
Oh, it's just baby.
yeah, this is probably, last year's model. She's young, and that's why she made a mistake. All right, good deal, partner. We broke the ice.
All good.
And I know I'd rather drag mine than yours. Paul Williams purchased this hunt at a fundraiser for the Legends Dove Hunt, which raises money for the Hendrick Hospital Pediatrics Unit. And the reason that that hospital has really grown, especially the pediatric unit, is because of a good friend, Lanny Vincent. His son Ross was severely injured when he fell off a horse out here on the ranch, but at that time they really didn't have a pediatric unit that could handle a situation like that. So he gets to Abilene, and now we have to life flight him to Fort Worth.
I first hunted out here when I was about 9 years old.
This is some footage of Ross Vincent about a year after the accident.
That cell started to move, so I know that boar's gonna come out behind her.
Ross had fully recovered by the time this footage was taken.
Yes.
The year was about 2004, and the year that Lanny started the Legends Dove Hunt. I donated this hunt to be sold at the banquet following the dove hunt, and Paul Williams was the first gentleman to put his hand in the air.
We're creating a regional scenario where our children don't have to be flown halfway around the world or even to Fort Worth.
I'm looking for words of wisdom from Uncle Ted.
Well,
In addition to the hunt that we auctioned off, Lanny auctioned off a deer hunt with Ted Nugent.
We love you and we appreciate you doing it.
and I love you back. Thanks, man. Good Americans.
So we had a lot of time in camp with Ted, so we had a good visit. I hadn't seen him in a number of years.
Turn the freak a little bit for me.
Paul was really generous to buy this hunt, to make a huge donation to the hospital. But he wasn't finished. It seems he's just about to make one more generous offer as Carnivore continues.
All right, guys, just pose up for me.
Paul Williams is now a believer in ultrasonics with this double coyote kill in Shackelford County. And it came together in a fierce wind on the last call we could make that afternoon. But the forecast for the next morning was encouraging.
Part of my motivation coming into this hunt was I wanted my son-in-law to come meet these people. I wanted my son-in-law to come see a piece of Texas history that he hadn't been able to see. I wanted him to see something different. They've been married a year and a half now and have a baby, and so I just decided I was gonna try to make this happen no matter what. I didn't go this morning because I knew the weather was gonna be right, and I wanted Garrett to have the opportunity to spend quality one-on-one time with Gary and go see what pros do.
My father-in-law called me and he said that he had bid on a hunt and that we were gonna go hunt some coyotes. Well, I grew up in Houston, but I was lucky enough to be able to go down to South Texas quite a bit and hunt down there. Dove hunting and deer hunting are the two main things that I've done in the past.
Paul Williams is staying back at camp. His son-in-law, Garrett Wyatt, Dr. Garrett Wyatt that is, had killed a coyote before. He'd killed one coyote in his life, but it was when he was deer hunting. It's a promising morning, but the wind is already churning. We heard it's supposed to be brutal later on, so we got to make every stand count.
Even though the wind was blowing and we were sitting there with the freak and then a bunch of cows came in. We'd heard them and seen them far off and didn't necessarily think they'd come in, but sure enough they did.
We've always had livestock respond to calls. Cattle and horses, I don't know what it is. I think more or less it's just a curiosity thing. These cattle, of course, they had calves on them, but I think it was just a curiosity thing. When we sat down to make the call, these cattle were half a mile away. I said, they're out there so far, they won't come, but wrong, here they are.
Once those cows came in, I knew that Gary was not happy about that.
We're not supposed to be calling cows. This first stand where we had cattle, that was our call for the day. They're predicting winds to gust to 45 to 50 miles an hour. And anytime the wind gets above 15, it's going to affect you. When it goes over 25, you have to pack it up and go in. you're out there beating your head against a stump. And we know we'll be better served if we save our country for the next day when it's forecast not to be so windy to make those calls in. I am a huge fan of Texas history, 1880s through the early 1900s. And Fort Griffin, this town that we're able to walk down the streets of and look at these restored buildings, these were the original buildings, it's just hard to fathom that that town is all on this ranch. To walk those same streets that maybe Bat Masterson, John Selman, and a lot of the notorious outlaws and the great cattlemen walked right where I'm walking, it really struck me.
The idea to be able to come up here and stay at one of the most historic pieces of real estate in the entire state of Texas, where 150 years ago, where we're sitting now, could very easily have been covered in buffalo hides. It could very easily have had Comanche attacks. How cool is it to come out on one of these properties where you can see those kind of things?
This camp is amazing, and there's so much Texas history here. So being able to explore, walk around, see the old town, read the monuments, and understand the history that took place here was incredible.
And on this same street was the office of the Fort Griffin Echo. It was a newspaper, but it may be the most valuable history book on Frontier, Texas. It was the only newspaper for miles, and they did such a good job of documenting that old history that occurred right here. The wind dies and our luck improves as Carnivore continues.
That morning, I was anticipating seeing some coyotes coming in, and I was just excited to watch the freak and anticipating the hunt. We got out of the truck and started walking to a great spot to call a predator in, and all of a sudden there was a coyote running across the field. So I think he heard us walking up, but we made the decision to keep going and set up in that spot. Gary sets up the freak, and we're sitting there and just anticipating what could happen, and he turns it on, and I'm looking at the speaker and hearing the sounds that are coming out of it, and just anticipating that the predator's attention may be caught by that just like I was. I look up, and there was a coyote about 50, 60 yards away, and it was honed in on the speaker, running in. That coyote stopped and stood there and was just looking right at the freak.
Good shot.
It's pretty neat to see that we had used the freak to call in the coyote, and that's one more predator off the land.
That didn't take long, did it? I hope the rest of the morning's just like that. Yeah. You know, it's over in 30 seconds. That's quick. That was quick. I had barely turned the call on, and I saw something white out there, and he's coming hard. Yeah. I was like, well, there's number one. We didn't run them all out of the country. So you did handle it just right. When I walk out there, I'm laying a scent trail. And of course there's scent all the way to where that call is. And if he breaks that scent trail, he's gonna have my stink, and now we're gonna try to kill a coyote running away. So he squared up. You made a perfect shot.
Yeah, right when he squared up, I was right when I had him on the beat. So
you got him. That's just the way we like it. Yeah. It won't happen that easy again today.
No.
We started out with a good one. There's your first coyote. Looked like last year. Yeah, last year. It's a female. Boy, she's got pretty fur on her, doesn't she? Not a big coyote, but by golly, they all count.
Yeah.
Is that your first coyote?
I think second.
Second coyote. But the first one, it was shot it out of a deer stand?
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Yeah, I was getting down out of a deer stand. It was just there.
So first called in coyote.
Yeah.
There you go.
First seen it called in. Pretty awesome to see it come in and whip around and knock it down.
I'm glad it squared up just right.
Yeah.
It couldn't have happened any better. Garrett had killed a coyote before. He'd killed one coyote in his life, but it was when he was deer hunting. So it was kind of an incidental contact. This was the first time that he had ever been predator hunting and seen a coyote respond to a call. I've taken a jillion guys hunting, but to take that person on their very first hunt and to have success is so rewarding for me. Another pair of coyotes that catches us off guard as Carnivore continues.
It's actually one of my New Year's resolutions is to be outside more. And so we went out that morning and the wind was just whipping. Unfortunately, when the wind blows, it can be difficult to call in predators.
It's a predator hunt that started as a charity auction item, raising money to improve emergency health care for children with critical injuries in remote areas of West Texas. Garrett Wyatt's father-in-law, Paul Williams, bought this hunt at the auction. And after witnessing the incredible results of our new ultrasonic call, the Freak, he gave up the rest of his hunt just to let his son-in-law, Garrett, experience this legendary part of West Texas. Garrett doesn't get much free time to predator hunt. His nationally recognized research into curing breast cancer keeps his team busy in the lab.
In the fall of 2012, I went to Texas A&M, studied biomedical sciences, and got my bachelor's, and then graduated with my PhD in biomedical sciences in 2022. Before I got here, I looked up Gary and his Freak and looked up that technology to see what I was getting myself into, and I was very excited about going out into the field. So it's a little bit later in the morning, still early though. Sun is coming up. So at our second spot, what we did is we found an opening. We sat down and Gary set the speaker out in front of us. The coyote from our first spot, that was the first time I'd ever shot a coyote with a call. And that was unlike anything ever before. And I've heard people talk about being able to call predators in, and seeing it firsthand and then getting to shoot one with a predator call was a wonderful experience. The first coyote comes running in and it is beelining straight towards the Freak. I was set up in a good spot. Gary and I had talked before going out the hunt, and he had told me that just because one comes, that doesn't mean it's over. So he got back on the call and sitting there waiting, and it wasn't 5 more minutes that passed by and another coyote came running right up. After clipping that coyote, it was a bummer to see it run off to the right, tracking it, and it was running rather fast, so I couldn't get another shot off.
Well, partner, first one came pretty good. Second one came pretty good. You made a real good shot on that first one.
In the moment when those predators are running in, because they're honed into that Freak in there, I mean, they look massive. And then after dispatching one, you walk up and they're not quite as big as you expected.
Garrett, that looks like the last. Was that a female or male? Another female. We don't care how they are, we just like to see them come. Pretty little coyote. Looks just about like the last one. Actually, the second one looked a lot like this one as well. I think they're last year's pups. Mm-hmm. And they got those real good sharp teeth, don't they?
Yeah. Felt good to have a successful shot. But then looking for sign of blood from the second coyote, we didn't see anything, so that's why I'm pretty sure I just clipped it.
Grab her.
So dead coyote's a dead coyote, and that's all that matters at the end of the day, because it's taking one more predator off the landscape. In this case of this hunt, 2 confirmed off the land.
This weekend has been very special, and probably because of the interaction with these folks, because of being able to spend one-on-one time with Ted Nugent, it will probably cause me to be a better advocate for hunting.
This whole hunt has been a blast. Being up here is great, and seeing all the history that's at this camp. A lot of wonderful people involved in this. Obviously meeting Ted Nugent was an amazing experience, and you don't necessarily think you'll get to sit down and drink coffee or have dinner with him. And I was able to do that. And then obviously working with Gary, he's world class when it comes to predator hunting. My father-in-law loves to tell people that one day I'm going to cure breast cancer. And obviously that's the goal with research. Like I mentioned, there's not a ton of hunters that are in the research world, but it sure would be neat if a hunter was able to cure breast cancer one day. Yeah, that's something you could brag about forever, and the whole community could.
Carnivore is made possible through a partnership with Ruger, rugged, reliable firearms, Trigicon, brilliant aiming solutions, Hornady, accurate, deadly, dependable, and The Freak, the world's first and only ultrasonic game call.